Tropical storm Melissa has developed in the Caribbean Sea, and it is forecast to become a hurricane, and it could be a significant threat to the Greater Antilles, in particular the nation of Haiti. I'm Mike Nasel with this noon update on the tropics on this Tuesday afternoon. Taking a look out there, there's Melissa developing in the Caribbean Sea. We watched it from that tropical wave off Africa that made its way in a more sheared, unfavorable environment all the way to the Caribbean like we were warning about. And here it is now, a tropical storm. So it's hot off the presses as of 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Tropical storm Melissa was at 14.3 north, 71.7 west, winds of 50 miles per hour, which makes it a moderate tropical storm. So it has initialized at a pretty strong intensity for the first advisory. And the pressure's still up at about 1,003 millibars, give or take. And strengthening is expected. And it should become a hurricane later this week or early in the weekend. It's moving west at 14 miles per hour, and that fast motion has continued. However, it is expected to slow down quite a bit, and it's going to feel the weakness in the high-pressure ridging to the north, and it's unknown at this time if the system's going to be able to get sucked into the weakness and move on out, or kind of get left behind in the Caribbean Sea. Right now, the indications are that it's probably going to get left behind, which is bad news for a couple of reasons. Number one, the longer it stays down there over the warm Caribbean waters, the longer it has to become a hurricane or a strong hurricane. Secondly, number two, the longer these rain bands sit over an area like Haiti, the higher the risk for significant flooding. And I'm talking, Haiti is such a third world country. I mean, I always said it was a fourth world country. Their infrastructure is so bad, they're in such poor shape, that even a tropical storm moving slowly offshore can create a flood disaster of epic proportions. So while I don't want to be alarmist, this could really be a bad situation for Haiti, especially if it does this slow little snake movement over the later part of the week and into the weekend. We do have tropical storm watches in effect for the island of Jamaica, and we also have a hurricane watch for Haiti, and this goes from the border of the Dominican Republic to Port-au-Prince, because it is expected to become a Category 1 hurricane and get pretty darn close. If you look at that track, it could make landfall. I'm trying to think of the last landfall of a hurricane in Haiti directly. I think Hurricane Matthew in 2016, and that was a Category 4 hurricane, and it was devastating. We also had Hurricane Gustav back in 2008. That was a Category 1 or 2. So Haiti does get directly struck by hurricanes, but really it's the flood threat that we're worried about, not so much the wind, even if this did make landfall as a hurricane. Here's the visible satellite imagery of Melissa, and again, the center is right in this area here, where I circled. And that is a very lopsided tropical storm. It should strengthen slowly but steadily, but this is bad news for Haiti as well, because if the center is to the left of most of the deep convection, that means the center could be here off Haiti, but all these deep thunderstorms would be over Hispaniola, raining like mad. Melissa is still dealing with wind shear, and it's cutting into it. That's why it's not strengthening rapidly, thank goodness. But the environment should get a little bit better, and of course those Caribbean waters are boiling. We haven't had a lot of activity in the Western Caribbean, and that is why they are prime and ready to roll for intensification. Now here is the European ensembles, and if we look at where most of them take it, there are way more that keep it here in the Caribbean than take it out over Hispaniola. Look at the difference in those two circles. A lot more in that left circle than in the right. And those pink lines, if you look at the intensity, look at the wind here. Blue is a tropical storm, yellow is a Category 1 hurricane, orange. As you get into the pink, you're talking 100 knots. That's a major hurricane. Look at the European showing all these pink lines. They make it a major hurricane over the Western Caribbean. So if you are in Jamaica, if you're in the Cayman Islands, Cuba, even Florida, keep an eye on it, to say nothing of Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua. In 1998, Hurricane Mitch in late October buried itself down there and killed 12,000 people. It was horrific. It set the country of Honduras back 50 years, I read. They're the European ensembles close up, and again, they kind of drag Melissa west, deep, deep into the Western Caribbean, headed towards Honduras and Nicaragua as a major hurricane. Now, a lot of them, as I showed you in the longer range, hook it back towards Cuba. In 2001, Hurricane Michelle in early November was a Category 4 hurricane, made landfall near the Bay of Pigs, and that hooked right and came over the Bahamas afterwards. We could potentially see something like that with Melissa. The GFS ensembles are a little bit further to the east, but again, some of them do make it a powerful hurricane here in the Western Caribbean. Of course, there's always the one or two that aim at Florida, which means you have to remain vigilant. You have to watch it carefully, but right now the biggest concern is definitely to areas here of the Greater Antilles of the Caribbean islands. Rainfall, as I said, is a horrible thing for areas like this, and that is the main threat with this system. When you're talking about red or crimson or pink colors, that is 12 to 16 inches of rain, 20 inches of rain, 30 inches of rain. And right now, as I showed you, that's over the water. However, over the coming days, that could be over Haiti and the Dominican, and we could see just horrendous flooding. The key messages for Melissa as of 11 a.m. from the Hurricane Center: heavy rainfall, risk of significant flash flooding and mudslides, landslides to portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic all through the weekend. Number 2, a hurricane watch is issued for the southern peninsula of Haiti, a tropical storm watch for Jamaica. Preparations to protect life and property should be completed by Thursday. This is expected to be a hurricane nearing those locations. And number 3, there is significant uncertainty in the track and intensity forecast of Melissa. Interests elsewhere in Hispaniola and Cuba should continue to monitor the latest forecasts. Again, that is a very, very big threat with flooding. And as we look at the satellite right now, these rain bands that develop, the warm Caribbean waters, all that moisture and instability, it doesn't matter the intensity of Melissa, it's how fast it's moving and where it is. And if Melissa meanders here in the Caribbean, that could cause a lot of flooding. So we're going to watch this very carefully. Again, Tropical Storm Melissa just developed on October 21st in the Caribbean Sea, forecast to become a hurricane, but it is uncertain whether or not it'll get caught up and move out, or a little more likely, meander slowly and then move into the Caribbean with a potential track in the future towards areas of the Western Caribbean. I'm Mike Nasel with the latest on Melissa, and I will talk to you next time.